thank you. How are
Uh,
you?
Great. Awesome. Awesome as always. Lighting's great. You look amazing. So thank you so much for joining us today. How's it been working from home?
Thank you for having me. So it's a pleasure to join you and be able to speak to your viewers. How's it been working from home? Different. I think, I'm learning. I don't regularly work from home in this role, but I've been taking some of the positives out of it as well. So yeah, it's been good. It's a learning journey, and we're adapting, shall we say.
Do you find you get more accomplished when you're working from home, saving time? Oh no, you work close to your home, but do you find that you're being more productive at home?
Certainly, actually, yes, yeah. Even though the travel, I haven't saved much time because I do live close to where I work. I found within my teams they're being more productive.
Oh,
They're being productive because they've had to log on at certain times. There's challenges with families, and you're more focused. So you're picking up the phone to speak to somebody. You're on video calls, so you don't have the opportunity to have a chat next to the water cooler. So I think, yeah, when you put down a task, it seems to be getting done a lot quicker, but there's a lot of effort going into it. So it's quite taxing as well, to be honest.
huh. Interesting. Yes, we are four of us working from home, so that faces its own challenges, but we're not getting into there. I'm really excited about our conversation today, specifically about our topic and your journey, my journey, how you got to where you are, all of the strategies. So I am going to try my best to shut up and give you the floor. I know this time goes really, really fast, but let's talk about you. Let's talk about how you got into the finance and the world of banking first.
Okay, so I'll keep it short because I know we've only got a half an hour, so that's going to go quite quickly. But generally speaking, I've been working within banking and financial services for about 18, 19 years now. So primarily in the UK, working for a fantastic organisation to start off my career with, which was Deloitte in London. 10 years over there, and then spent a 7.5 great years over at Lloyds Banking Group, a retail and commercial bank. And my expertise, my background has always been in internal audit and risk management. Fantastic. Love that role. Never thought quitting or finishing university, coming out of college, finishing university, that I'd go into this role. But it's something that I really enjoy, a lot of interaction with colleagues, people, businesses, different organizations. And I've settled on banking and financial services. So that's, the UK side. And just over a couple of years ago, we decided to uproot and come over to Toronto in Canada. So it's been about 2 years now. Taking a mini career break. Thought it was a great time to, moving across the pond, as it were, to grow professionally and personally. So took a few months off, and then I started to look for a role over here. With my background, with my years in financial services, banking, Big Four, I kind of relied on those experiences and that experience and I suppose skills and qualifications I had to be able to land a role in the financial services hub in Toronto. And that was difficult because it didn't happen straight away. In fact, it took about 6 months from start to end. But the topic I'm talking about is revising your strategy and updating your approach, job search approach. And once I did that, it took me probably about 6 weeks to actually land the role in where I am now. So I think there were, by accepting some of the changes that I needed to make, eating humble pie, going through the humbling process, and reinforcing my efforts and dedicating my approach, it's landed me in the role that I wanted, and that's where I'm working now.
Andrew Cosolo actually coined the term the humbling process when he heard my story, and he was one of my first mentors. But why don't you tell our guests here, what is the humbling process, and what was that place where you were, when you were probably rethinking if you made the right move, because we do have a lot of newcomers and also a ton of new graduates. Marking ended today, so I have been marking since 7 a.m. this morning. I just finished an hour back, and which means that students have finished their 2 years, 3 years of school, ready to start their careers, and they are all stuck in that COVID phase. So let's talk a little bit about what that humbling process was, and how did you overcome that fear, or how did you overcome that lack of motivation?
So for me, the humbling process kicked in once I had a good opportunity at a big bank here, right? So I was relying on my experience, and I was attending interviews. I had 4-stage interviews, and I got to the final stage of that interview, and it was me up against an internal candidate, and that candidate was going to have a promotion, and they went with that individual, which is fine. Sometimes, you got to live with that. Yeah. And then I suppose for me, it was then thinking, wow, that role was perfect. I really had the skill sets and everything else, but I didn't make it because I lost out to somebody that was internal and they were on a promotion. I needed to eat humble pie by thinking, well, I've almost put all of my eggs in one basket over there. So I need to re-strategize all my stuff to say, well, hold on a minute, that's not working. So I ended up networking, connecting with a lot of individuals, and they said, oh, actually, maybe you need to change what you're doing here. And that was hard for me to take because I've interviewed people. I've been interviewing over my career. So I thought I had my approach right. Clearly not. And what I ended up doing was actually I re-strategized by saying, okay, you know what? Nobody knows me here in Canada. I came over to Canada. Yes, I've got loads of experience. Yes, I've got qualifications, skills, expertise, all that sort of stuff, but nobody knows me here. And a big part of job seeking is about networking. So, and if you network, you know people, and they can recommend you and they can vouch for your credentials and credibility. I had to tailor my approach. And there's that phrase, cutting your cloth accordingly. So yes, I've gone through loads of applications, resumes being sent out, telephone interviews, but I'm not getting that bite. So I ended up going from, this is where I need to be. This is where my skill set says I need to be operating at. I actually took a drop by saying, well, let me just reevaluate what I need to do here. So the humbling process, well, let me just swallow that pride and just go for a role that's probably where I would have been a few years back. My idea was to get in, develop my network within that organization, and work my way back up. Because cream always, your experiences will always bring you back to where you should be, right? So that was the plan. And I think the humbling process was by swallowing that pride to then apply for roles that probably weren't something that I would never have looked at previously.
But it wasn't many steps below. It was just 1 or 2 steps below, right?
It was a couple of steps below, right? A couple of steps below. But it's one of those where you look at it and think, I could easily do that role. That's fine. Yeah. And I had to tailor my approach in the resume and the application process. So you match up and this is feedback that I took on board around, yes, if you put down that you've got 17 years worth of experience and you're going for this role, well, why? So you phrase it in the way that brings out the qualities that role is looking for. And how I landed the role I've got is once I've been in that role, in that interview, clearly speaking to that, and it was a great credit to the individual interviewing me, they realized straight away, so hold on a minute, why have you applied for this role? Why have you not gone for this other role over here that's vacant? And we're applying for it at this moment. And I said to her at the time, I was apprehensive about going for that because I thought there'll be plenty of people internally going for that role that would be already lined up and they would go for it. And I just thought it was part of the process that this organization had to do the application externally. So to tick that box. And she said, no, you know what, your skills, expertise, I would like to take you through for this process, for this role. And they included, within a space of 4 or 5 days, and I mentioned this to you earlier, Nina, within the space of 4 days, I had a telephone interview for that role, met the actual individual that I am currently working for, and got an offer. It was fantastic. Yeah, just moved so quickly. So I think, talking back to your humbling process, there was a bit of good fortune there because I downgraded my expectations. I then worked to work towards, adapting my CV, my approach, the roles I'm looking for, the organizations I'm going for. And then while I'm in that one-on-one conversation, face-to-face, in person at the time, being able to influence that individual by clearly demonstrating my skills, expertise, and knowledge for them to think, no, hold on, that role isn't right for you. This role over here is much more suited to your skills and expertise. So yeah, got a lucky break in that sense. But if you don't put yourself forward and adapt your approach, then I don't think that would have ever happened for me. Not in that role anyway.
So what are some of the strategies that you want to suggest our job seekers to look at, to try to give it a shot? Because, everybody is in this zone. It's Corona time. It's COVID time. There are no jobs. How do I network? I know how to network, but right now, will people be open to networking? So I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
Okay. So I think here, what we've got to be realistic is whether you're a newcomer or you've just finished university, college, wherever it is, and looking to go into the world of work, you need to have a vision. And I think that's what you're dealing with your guys. You're the CEO of your destiny. So you should have a vision, right?
Yes.
So every vision has a plan of how to get there. You should have a strategy and a plan how to get there. So first and foremost, I think I don't buy this. There are no positions out there. There are. What you now need to do is adapt your approach. Go back to your strategy. What's your vision? What is it that you're trying to achieve? So you might look at this and say, well, okay, this is what my background and skills are in, and this is the industry I want to go into. Is that still realistic in this environment? You really need to be honest with yourself. And what you then got to do is then say, right, okay, in the short to mid-term, nobody knows how long this uncertainty is going to last. Some people have said 12 months, 24 months. I think what you've got to do is just adapt your vision. You might have had this vision up front that's to be X person in this organization with this skill set. Maybe you need to bring it back a notch or two. And I think that's the first thing. The second thing would be to then this strategy and plan. And I don't care. I'm not saying that you need to have a fancy plan. I want people, and this is what I did for myself, is I got disciplined. Once I realized I needed to adapt my approach, I got disciplined by saying, right, this is what I want to do. This is the organization. This is where I want to be. I need to take it down a notch because my longer term plan was Y, but this is what I'm going to do for now. And in terms of being able to then say, well, okay, what do I do in this environment? And what I would do in this environment, if I was back in here, is, well, the opportunities are going to be less. I think they are. I'm not saying there aren't any opportunities. The opportunities are going to be less. So the supply is less, but the demand is more. There's more people out there that's coming into, as you just said earlier on, coming into the job market, or people that have been laid off and need to go into the job market again. So you need to stand out even more. So I think and some of the challenges I feel that you need to respond to this and adapt your approach is the obvious one around COVID. It's led to major disruptions. It's not unique to any one individual. Everybody's been impacted in some way, first and foremost. So everybody's working in a revised way of working, whether it's telephone interviews, virtual interviews, all that sort of stuff. What I would say here is having a blueprint would be great, because at this moment in time, I personally, when I'm looking online, whether it's LinkedIn, whichever format it is, social media, you're getting a lot of overwhelming information. It's already overwhelming.
Yes.
Tips, guidance, videos, articles, how you should job search in this environment. Look, that's all great. It's going to be overwhelming to any one individual. And I think how you can manage this is by having that strategy and plan. Say, well, okay, look, this is what I want to achieve. Here's how I'm going to achieve it. And the way I would do this is to say, and the takeaways that you might want some tangibles here is maybe in a page or two, write it down. Start off with a profile. The opportunities to network with people is different. but it's still there. It's how we network. So you need to, and I think I remember watching, well, over the week, you've been having these sessions, and I've not been able to log in live at the time, but you talked about visibility, people being visible, presence. You need to work on letting your personality come through. Biju mentioned in one of his earlier topics around branding, personal branding. When you're interviewing somebody, you kind of look at their application resume and the process they've gone through. You expect them to have the technical knowledge, but your profile, your personality, how you interact will take you further. So I think you need to work on profile. So you need to look at and be honest with yourself to say, well, what am I going to do with enhancing my profile to get to this role, to get to this goal? Mm-hmm. Secondly, I think people, right? So connecting with your current network and establishing new networks is essential. I think there was a stat out there about 80% of roles have been secured through people networking and getting to know somebody. So that's a huge amount. I mean, I can't validate that statistic, but I'm sure it's not too far off. But, with Vanda talking about do networking with purpose, not just willy-nilly throwing a contact out there. Sometimes I get requests coming through on LinkedIn with no kind of introduction or what have you, or even to Vanda's point earlier in the week, somebody saying, we live in the same city, so let's go. That's not going to work. If you look at your strategy, you look at where you want to go, which industry, what sector, which area. If you find those individuals, then you've got a commonality. You can ask for information. You could say, look, we're working in the same field, and I'm interested to learn how you've gone into this field. Would you mind spending half an hour, 15, whatever? So at least you've got a segue into that. Yes. And I think that's the second, in terms of developing your plan, that's the second P, profile first, people. And then the process. I think, again, there's little golden nuggets that you're getting from all of your speakers. Leo talked about the ATS, understanding the tools. I learned something from listening to some of that stuff, around the name. Something simple as the name and the application and this resume can throw people off. You don't want to give a reason that will get a recruiter or a hiring manager to kind of say, no, let's put them to the side. So I think a process is getting to better understand the process of what you're going through, video calls, virtual calls. I learned of something new this week, one-way calls.
One-way calls.
One-way video calls, right? So you've got something that comes up on the screen, questions, and you've got to record your answers to that.
Yes.
So that's a new concept to me. But look, if people understand the process and they can practice and be prepared, you're going to put in much better performance. And that leads me to my next P, performance, right? So again, when you're developing your plan on how to respond, is how can you increase your performance? And I think in this environment, it's easy to be negative.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. But what you've got to do is look at the positivity. You've got more time. And I think some people have said, look, me included, if I had more time, then I could do this. Sometimes you do use that time up, but I think with the people that are looking for a role and looking to secure the career, you can start future-proofing yourself. What have you done in the past that you felt I haven't done as well on a telephone interview, on a physical interview, applications? Learn from that. Sometimes, quality will be delivered once you learn from your mistakes. And if we're honest, when an interview's gone well, and when an interview has gone badly, and you want to be able to then react to some of the stuff. We spoke just before coming on about some people being uncomfortable being on the phone and video calling. I think what this is proven, this latest epidemic, the pandemic, is that there's a lot more face-to-face time, but over video calling. You need to get comfortable. You need to be, the viewers here, you need to be comfortable in setting yourself up correctly, being able to talk over. When you're landing in an interview, an in-person interview, when I'm interviewing people, I can see their energy. I can see how they're going to fit in. The technical stuff, yeah, you can gauge that, but more importantly, and so some people, it is about how is that individual going to fit in. Now, on a video call, you can get those visual cues. And I think what you've got to then do is watch yourself presenting, watch yourself responding to people, and then respond to the other person's reactions, as you would do in a live interview. And if somebody's tapping their pen on the table, it means they're getting a bit fed up, move on, that kind of stuff. So there's stuff around how you could improve your performance as well. So I think that will help you be ready and be flexible to deliver on some of the last minute requests for interview or what have you. So I think that's a bit of a long-winded answer to your question. But in terms of being able to prepare yourself, I think the opportunity is there. Build yourself a 1 or 2 pager. Write it down. It doesn't have to be fancy. The Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, 20% of your effort will result in 80% of the So this plan, it's only valuable for you. Don't make it look pretty. As long as it makes sense to you and gives you the direction, the time, how you're going to spend your time and resources to increase your profile, connect with more people. The process of understanding the process, so you're not caught short. You know what modes people are going to be interviewing you by, what's expected of the part of the recruitment process, and improving your performance given the time that you currently have. I'll pause there.
I'm speechless, and it's difficult to have me speechless. But oh my God, wow.
A lot of information, I know.
Yeah, the P's are absolutely love it. And, I don't know if we're going to have questions, because I think everybody is in that thinking zone. Sina's already loving it. Everybody, hello. Sometimes when I'm doing these live sessions and I see a familiar face that's come on and they do the like or the heart, and I want to say, hi, hi, Mom, I'm here. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about that discomfort that almost everybody had. I remember when I used to teach cold calling way back when, and I'm an expert in cold calling. I absolutely love and thrive doing cold calls, but everybody would freak out. So I changed it from cold calling to power prospecting, and giving people, teaching participants, job seekers, how to feel powerful when they are making those cold calls, right? And we moved forward, the digital economy hit, and looking at how everybody was uncomfortable, I started teaching them how to digitally approach people. And then, some of my students, they're funny, my students are one of those amazing teachers I have that always push me to do and learn new stuff. So then they started pushing me, oh, it sounds creepy, it looks creepy. And then I had to do it live and, build this whole destination CEO structure. But things have changed. Before, where everybody would say, oh, I feel more comfortable in-person interviews, I don't feel comfortable doing phone interviews, or I'm not comfortable in front of a camera. Well, guess what? If you're now job searching, you don't have a choice but to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
So it's like, be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, you've got to. I agree, and we've all been there. I like to think with your mentors that you have, and fantastic mentors, great experience, and thankful for them to pay it forward. I mean, we've been there, and we're all paying it forward. And if you ask each of them, they would have been uncomfortable with some aspect back when they started out their career. And how do you get out of that uncomfortable stage? It's by doing. And I remember the very first time I had to stand up and do a presentation. I was nervous as anything. But thinking back now to what it was like then, it's like, well, why? You knew your topic. All it was just nerves and anxiety and all that sort of stuff. And practice makes perfect. Putting yourself out there to be uncomfortable and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. As you just said, public speaking isn't for everybody. Speaking over actually speaking on the telephone. I used to have, and doing telephone interviews. I think one of your mentors mentioned earlier, like having your notes. I think it was Sayali, having your notes, having your resume, everything. So it's even better. You can refer to stuff. In the end, by having so many telephone interviews, I didn't need anything in front of me. You were responding to the question because you've gone through the process. And I think sometimes it becomes automatic when you've had so much practice. And I think that puts you, and then you can just focus on answering the actual question, bringing out a real gem of a story to solidify your point and your experience. So the person on the other end goes, you know what, I want you in my team. So yeah, I think it's an opportunity to, and I would do this, whether you do it within your own groups, picking up and presenting an item, whatever it is, whether it's something that you've identified that can help somebody else learn or whatever, and just being comfortable in that space. Because if you start doing it on a regular basis, it becomes a habit.
Yes, and I think you brought in a fantastic point. So it looks like we're okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm making this announcement that everybody that is coming to the May 4th event, and as everybody knows, that we have this amazing event planned. It's our first virtual networking event because I am like most of you who loves to have the face-to-face events, who likes the whole touchy-feely stuff. But guess what? I can't have it. Should I sit back and let this COVID thing pass, or should I do something about it? So I'm doing something about it. I'm hosting, or Destination CEO is hosting a fantastic event. They're bringing together all of their mentors. Mentors are volunteering their time. Every evening, we have one mentor coming on live. Like it or not, they're comfortable or not comfortable with camera, but they are coming and they're giving you so much, so many nuggets of wisdom, so many amazing, takeaways. I'm going to make it mandatory that everybody that joins our sold out event must be on camera. So this way, you are going to face the fear, but you're going to face the fear with our mentors who are absolutely wonderful. You've met many of them and you're talking to Lonnie, and see, here it comes. Amdadur is known as Lonnie. I said to my son, please contact Lonnie. And he comes back and he says, Mom, I don't find a Lonnie in your group. Who is Lonnie? Amdadur Rahman, yes. But going back to what are you doing with these takeaways? Sorry. Are you implementing them in your job search? So I'm going to make it mandatory for all of you that is coming on May 4th to have your webcams on, to be ready to ask questions. And Lonnie, you'll be impressed to know that Biju and Sina are insisting that this event should be more Q&A and 100% participant focus. And I'm having a little pushback and saying, well, I do want my mentors to be able to give takeaways. So I am going to be sending out information on how the event's going to be structured, but it's going to be about all the job seekers. Mentors are coming here to give you information to address the challenges that you're facing. If you're joining and you're going to sit in the background, not ask questions, not keep your webcams on, not connect with those mentors, then you are wasting this golden opportunity that I'm going to advise you to please release the tickets and just watch it on YouTube Live. Because yes, it's a free event, but I'm paying for it. Destination CEO is paying for it. So if you're not planning to engage, am I right, Lonnie? Do I have your vote in it?
Absolutely. And I think, it's essential. I think it's key. I'm glad that you said it's mandatory to have the video on. I think that'd be good too. And it's always good, you can make better connections when you're seeing somebody. You can,
Yes.
See the body language, the inflection and all that sort of good stuff. And the ability for people taking part and engaging, part of that is around asking questions. commenting, asking questions, because some of this we don't have. Any individual will not have all of the answers, and that we could talk about topics and the areas that we want to talk about. But actually, we need some feedback on that. We need some commentary. We need some questions so we can actually direct and support the best way we can. So yeah, you've got my support.
Thank you, Lonnie. Thank you so much. I think this was a very insightful session. Amazing takeaways. I'm still, wow. Thank you. I think this went really, really well. I know Biju, Sally, Sina, they're all saying kudos to us. So thank you for all of that support. Oh, Dr. Alauddin is also in the house. Amazing. See, we have so much support. Our mentors are so amazing. So I really hope that participants, job seekers were either live or watch this recorded version, because our recorded versions are gaining more popularity or getting more views. They really take the 4 Ps. And let's say it again. What are the 4 Ps?
Yeah, okay. And I think this will help. So making sure that people go away, maybe 1 or 2 pages to support your overarching goal and vision. And every time you're documenting something against these 4 Ps, you want to be targeting that, right? Your profile.
Yes.
Increasing. How can you increase your profile? People. Who are the people that can support you, and building your network to be able to get to where you need to get to? The process. Have a much better understanding of all of the processes, new and old, to be able to then to understand how can I effectively deliver on that. And finally, the performance, just around how you need to use a positivity and the mindset to be improving yourself every time. Go back to have a look at what you've done in the past, and what can you do to improve yourself going forward.
And that's it. That's the 4 Ps.
That's the 4 Ps.
Well, thank you very much, Lonnie. Thank you, everybody who was a part of our live show today. Again, remember, Destination CEO, our tagline is, you are the CEO of your destiny. At the end of the day, learning, sitting in that dark place, thinking what to do is not going to bring you anything. Action, strategy, and adapting to a new job search strategy in the digital economy, in the COVID session, in whatever it is that you're facing right now, that is what's important. So don't sit on it, take some action, and you've got the 4 Ps. Watch this video again if you need to. Share this video with people you feel that need to listen to this, but let's take some action. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Once again, 7 p.m. sharp, when I bring in another fabulous speaker who, by the way, I'm meeting for the first time too tomorrow, Sandeep Chaudhary. And he is also from the financial industry. He is also going to share some very, very important nuggets. So be here, or like Mason says, be square. Have a great night. Thanks so much, Lonnie. Thank you. Have a great night.
And you. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.